Ethan's here, so we're ready to go.
Okay. Showing 302. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll call the meeting of the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Erie to order. Please rise for this Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started, I wanted to recognize the fact that we have a letter of resignation from Aaron Carey, who apparently has left the city and is pursuing other endeavors. So we're down to 4. So I'm assuming that the mayor's office will consider appointments and so on going forward. Is that
they'll
correct?
probably follow their standard process of accepting applications for vacant board positions. So.
Okay, very good. And if we had somebody in mind, we would notify the mayor's office,
Yes.
for example.
Direct them to submit their information to the mayor's office. Mayor's office will direct them to the online portal to complete the package.
Okay, great. Yeah, very good. Because we certainly want to be able to operate with a full complement.
Yes.
So very good. So the item B is our consent agenda, which include the agenda and the minutes from our last meeting. Is there a motion to accept? You and I are going to get to sorry. And we have Jeremy on the line.
Yes.
So between the three of us, we'll conduct the meeting. So is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Jeremy, that's your cue.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. Item B2, citizens' comments. Are there any citizens to be heard today? Anyone present? I don't believe we have anybody online other than Jeremy. So hearing none, we'll move on to the financial reports. Item C of our packet. Ms. Decker?
Yes. So in your packet, you have the profit and loss, the balance sheet, the bank reconciliation report, and the check detail, all of the checks that were dispersed for the month of April. And I just wanted to note on the profit and loss that was included as part of our service revenue. We had drawn down from the ARPA Healthy Homes Grant $161,934. The administrative was about $48,000. LHRD was $167,300. HACE was a fee for service, $11,435. We had one small McCain Township, Erie County Department of Planning project for $6,500, and then the Erie Land Bank for $43,444. And then for the financial consultant update, we've been working with Baker Tilly. We have fiscal consultants with them, and then we also had audit consultants that had to complete the Erie Land Bank audit before we were able to move on to the fiscal side, so there wasn't a conflict of interest there. So now that land bank audit has been completed and will be presented in front of the board next week, the fiscal consultant team was in our office the week of April 15th to extract the historical data from QuickBooks Desktop and online and compile the information for uploading into Blackbaud. We met with Isaac again this morning for a quick meeting to follow up on the visit and how they see us moving forward. And they are advising us, due to the high turnover that was in the finance office, that the information that they can transfer over accurately would be a less detailed chart of accounts than what we are currently showing. So, for example, everything would be lumped under like office supplies instead of listing individually paper, pencils, notebooks, and that's just for the historical data and not moving forward. So Blackbaud wouldn't be as detailed when you're looking back in as what the QuickBooks was, because it's spread across too many different platforms, and we had everybody doing it a little bit differently with each succession.
Yeah, let's say lack of consistency.
So it is moving forward, and they were thinking about possibly a June implementation date for when they would have all of that information uploaded into Blackbaud.
Okay. And you bring up a good point, and Aaron and I talked earlier today, that you're actually running two businesses here, the Redevelopment Authority, City of Erie, and the City of Erie Land Bank. So mindful of our staff members who are actually doing double duty. So I appreciate that extra work. Were there any questions on any financial? You certainly gave us a lot of information this month, so
Yes.
appreciate that.
Much appreciated. Two questions, one for the audit, one for the financial consultant. So the
Sure.
audit you said will be ready next week.
The audit, it was the land bank audit for 2022.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's a really fast.
But they were consulting on finishing up that part because we were stuck in a property dead zone as far as that went. So they couldn't both be consulting at the same time, conflict of interest. So the audit consultants that were helping us wrap up the land bank audit for 2022 had to be done with their portion of it before the financial consultants could continue with moving us forward
it.
into Blackbaud.
So the land bank audit will be done.
The land
week.
bank audit, yes. So we're presenting the 2022 land bank audit to the land bank board next week.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that
Sure.
clarity. And then for the actual financial consulting piece,
Mm-hmm.
so will they be able to, I guess, is there like a place where they can comment, like office supplies for this year were made up of, X, Y, and Z, or it's just kind of understood, it's like it was a combination of, paper, pencil, pencils, paper clips, stuff like that.
So in our conversation, this afternoon when we met with Isaac, they're going to put together a letter detailing what they're going to be able to do
Okay.
for our acceptance. So once we get that letter from Baker Tilly, I'll share it with the board before I execute that agreement. That way we're the board and myself and April and everybody is aware of to what level and what they're going to do to make it all work.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And did you want to talk about the auditors in office? Just the auditing team from Felix and Glucker is in the office to complete the Redevelopment Authority audit for 2023 and the Land Bank audit for 2023. So we'll hopefully
just
have those.
Kicked that off this morning.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, they'll be in our office this week.
Do they have an approximate turnaround time for getting the audit financials back? I know last year came kind of late.
Yeah, Redevelopment Authority in their contract is to be completed by the end of June. So that is the anticipated timeline, pending any issues. But with Baker Tilly under contract this year, that should alleviate any issues because last year we had a lot of waiting for somebody to get us guidance since Felix and Glucker couldn't provide that. So
Got it. Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
All right. Jeremy, did you have any questions?
I did not.
Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to accept the financial reports as submitted?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second pending audit.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Item D, we'll start with our solicitor's report.
Good afternoon, Board. It's my pleasure to kind of summarize and go through my memorandum or my report. We have a number of properties that have been scheduled and are in the process of being scheduled for Board of View. So we are actively dragging these properties forward, sometimes kicking and screaming on the other side, but we are pulling them forward. And I would be remiss if I didn't let the board know of the help and guidance that Aaron and his office is providing my office and also me as we pull these properties forward. They have been invaluable and have been helpful in preparing everything that needs to be done. For example, we have a number of views coming up here tomorrow and others to be scheduled, so they have been instrumental in that process. So again, I thank them. There are a number of properties that are older that we are moving forward in, and they take a lot of time and unfortunately also a lot of expense as well, but we are clearing the deck and clearing the slate with these properties that have been kind of, for reasons that we could not control, have been slowed up a little bit. I do want to mention that we are being successful in rehabilitation. There was a gentleman owns a property on West 8th Street. We've been working with him. I've met with him a couple of times to make sure that he stays on track. And so we are being effective. And when I met with Aaron and his staff, it's readily apparent in the community that we mean business, and that if they want to work with us, we will work with them. If not, then we have marching orders and we proceed accordingly. So that has been very helpful. I think I want to confirm 403 and 405 West 25th Street, that's completely done, been renovated, or is it still in process?
It's still in process. However, we felt it was in the authority's best interest to discontinue the condemnation action and allow her to facilitate the rehabilitation. It didn't quite rise to the level to which the authority needed to take action. So we kicked it back to her, and she's going to work with a few individuals to continue the renovation that she's already started. So,
and again, I think what this shows, and again, with the help and guidance of Aaron and his staff and the whole department, we're working with people and willing to take a fresh look at things, and people now understand that if you just ignore us, we're going to go full steam ahead. So the word is out in the community, but most importantly, they understand that we're working for the best interests of the city of Erie, and that's going to be our goal. So I'm encouraged by it, and I think with the help of Aaron and his staff, we're going to be successful in continuing that momentum forward. And I thank you.
Okay.
thanks, Gene.
Thanks, Gene. Anything for Mr. Sundberg? Hearing none, thank you. Let's see, so on to the Executive Director's report then, Mr.
All right.
Snippert.
Just a couple things to highlight. The RACB grant has been submitted to the state, the amendments to that for the EMTA parking garage build-out. We have not heard back from the state yet as far as any moving forward with that or whether approval on that. The consultant did indicate that there is a lot of new staff members at the state office, so that could be slowing things up. So that is in process. Last week, myself, April, and Tracy attended the Pennsylvania Association of Housing and Redevelopment Authorities spring conference in Bethlehem. I attended the Professional Development Committee meeting on Sunday prior to the conference to help try to craft and build the professional development system and sessions for the Erie conference in October. So in the past and since our involvement, the redevelopment authority tracks have been a little bit light, and the redevelopment authorities haven't really been represented. So in working with them, the redevelopment authority is going to hold 3 sessions at the conference in October. We're also going to assist with coordinating a tour of something in Erie. I have a couple thoughts, but certainly if there's some board members that have some thoughts of how we can best showcase Erie to, our fellow practitioners across the state, I'm open to that. So certainly the historic preservation on West 6th Street comes to mind, EDDC's work in downtown Erie, along with our own East Bayfront Greenway Trail project, which by then, could be going. So those are just some thoughts right now. So we're also going to help coordinate some of the evening events. It's a well-organized conference, and Kelly and that at PARA does a great job. So, we certainly had a lot of good sessions. My session on blight was well received, had lots of good questions. So I think, that across the state, like as Gene said, a lot of our work is being noticed. I can't count how many times throughout the conference I spoke with, other individuals who, mentioned how great our work in Erie is, not just the redevelopment authority, but all of the organizations. Like I mentioned, all of the activity that's going on is definitely being noticed, and Erie's, revitalization efforts are moving forward and getting some traction. So I also accepted today got approval, I accepted a position on the Professional Development Committee for PARA, so I will now officially sit as a committee member on that to help craft and drive the professional development for redevelopment authorities at their 3 conferences they hold each year. So I look forward to representing Erie and the Redevelopment Authority in that capacity on that committee. So that is my report.
Great. Well, and congratulations, and thank you for, your leadership, particularly. I mean, when you are always the guy who comes, or the gal who comes from the place the farthest from Harrisburg, it's having done that in my prior career, I understand that, so it's a little extra effort.
They did ask if they could fly into Erie, and we said, yeah, if you can get a flight into Erie, sure.
Yeah.
Might have to go through Charlotte, but yeah.
Much luck with that, yeah. All right. We'll put them on the train, I guess, maybe. We'll see how that goes. So,
They drive up to Buffalo.
yeah. So, well, that is also Erie County, I think, so.
Yes.
But it is a different state, unfortunately, so. Well, good, and thank you and congratulations, appreciate that. Moving on to unfinished and new business items, our housing program update.
All right, so when I put together the agenda, I failed to realize that Holly was off today, so the rehabilitation report is included, which identifies all of the activities and movement that have happened across our many funding sources for housing rehabilitation within the city of Erie and Erie County. So a lot of numbers, a lot of action, a lot of funding as far as the healthy homes. We're pretty darn close to having it fully allocated, so that is a good thing. Erie County, we're still waiting on a new contract for Act 137. However, we're moving forward with the whole home repair program, McCain CDBG, and what other funding we have as far as that goes. So, yeah, that's the rehabilitation report for today.
And next, item number 2, I know that we have in our packets we spoke last meeting for a proposed scholarship. I know that Tracy Davis put a lot of work into the report. It looked very good to me. I appreciate the consideration in the format. Did anybody have any comments? Or Tracy, did you want to address the board on anything? Or I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'd never want to give anybody, I always like to give everybody an opportunity to. So if there's no questions, I didn't have any questions, I thought it was well done. And I'm assuming that each year out of the budget, just our budget, we would feed that. And if we ever had a rainy day fund or some, interest off an endowment, start an endowment or something would be ultimately the best way of handling it. But
Yeah.
right now the cash flow is fine, to do that. But it feels good to do something to benefit high school students, advancing their careers and in partnership, inspired from the PARA scholarship, and then it's our local part, so it felt good to me.
I just have a quick, comment
Yes.
/ question for the name of the scholarship. Obviously, TBD is to be determined. That's not actually going to be the name of the scholarship. But is there like a deceased former executive director that had a very positive impact on the Redevelopment Authority that we could put here as okay?
No, Tracy asked me the same thing.
I know there's plenty of deceased former EDs.
Yes, it's just, I tried to think long and hard about it, but there just
We have a
hasn't
couple
been
live
any
ones too,
documented.
by the way, so,
Yeah, it's just, the name's a difficult one because, in traditional fashion, you name it after, an ED or something that was very transformational. I don't feel we have that truly documented if there was one.
So we would be open to suggestions then of another type of a name, perhaps going forward then, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
I assume a list will be developed of people who have been just in the community or nonprofit sector, just impactful on rejuvenating parts of Erie.
Yeah, we could definitely put something, hold
Or it doesn't have to be.
housing related kind of development, things like that, so, yeah.
All right. Do we need to approve that?
Yeah,
We
kind of a
probably
motion
do,
to-
yeah.
To
So,
accept that and.
so I'll entertain a motion to accept the proposed scholarship pending a name to be determined in the future.
So moved.
So, Jeremy, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
So one just comment on scholarships when you brought up the PARA is that it did receive 20 applications for the scholarship across the state. 2 of the 6 individuals who were awarded were from the city of Erie. They were
great.
both identified as housing authority residents. So certainly, I think, Tracy did a great job of reaching out to all the guidance counselors across the county. So, certainly her efforts more than likely created some of those applications to be submitted. So, yeah, just Erie got recognized in a big way at the PARA conference as far as, students who have a drive to continue their educations.
That's fantastic.
Great. All right, item C is our blighted property acquisitions, and I see that we have a resolution.
Yeah, so in the packet is a resolution containing numerous properties in which we are prepared and ready to move forth to Marsh to begin the condemnation process. They have been declared blighted by the Planning Commission, and so now I'm asking the Redevelopment Authority Board to allow us to proceed with eminent domain action against these identified properties.
So moved.
Jeremy, did you have a second on that?
Yes, sorry, my mute button was on. Yes, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. I see a few high-profile names on here, so I'm sure we'll hear more about the actions moving forward.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 4, I'll let Mr. Snipper to walk us through that one, which is the business training.
Yes. So, just, over the daily operations of the authority, some questions of mine came up, and speaking with April, and looking at having training opportunities for staff. April reached out to many different organizations, did some evaluation, reached out to other people in our industry as far as training providers, and really did the legwork on bringing this forth. And so she set up a meeting with Udemy, which kind of rose to the top of being fitting what we wanted. And really, is looking at the authority, I think, the staff could benefit from some professional writing, proper email communication. Certainly there's the need for some leadership training as far as, helping to position employees to take on those roles and responsibilities. So we don't really have that, and certainly we have the conferences, but sometimes that doesn't provide that base. And so, we looked at Manufacturing Business Association, but theirs is, Excel, things like that, the hard skills as far as software, but we really need some of those other little soft skills as far as office etiquette and such. So, like I said, April set up a meeting with Udemy. They went through the kind of their training catalog and things that we can do, and how we'll be able to set up the account and schedule different individuals and staff members to take certain trainings and require X amount of trainings per year as part of their performance evaluation. So I think it'll be beneficial, so that we can kind of continue to craft and work to form a staff that is beneficial to the city of Erie as we possibly can make it. So I feel it is a tremendous benefit to the authority. I feel as if a $360 per year investment into the staff for training is an excellent expenditure. So that's why.
And these are online trainings?
Yes.
So they're online trainings.
It'll be an online portal.
So it's $360 per employee, and will all the employees be offered this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep,
so
every employee will be offered it.
Right.
We'll be able to curtail every training to each individual employee
Sure.
based upon their job description or individual needs. So it'll be very helpful.
I'm a big fan of this. Baker Tilly uses Udemy for
Oh, really?
our professional development. We just switched from Coursera to over to Udemy, and I really have gotten a lot of use out of it. And actually, my first consulting project was an evaluation of massive open online courses. They're platforms like Udemy for U of I's, grad school programs, and I think that this is a fantastic investment in the staff.
Great. Well, happy to hear that. I was
Yeah.
not familiar. I was, this was new to me, so appreciate the endorsement
Yeah.
on that. That sounds good. So I'm good with it then. So would you, with that glowing endorsement,
Yeah.
would you also like to,
Yes. I move to approve this resolution.
Okay. Jeremy, did you have any questions, or do you want to second that for us?
I had a question.
Certainly.
Just related, is this mandatory training, or is this voluntary, or I guess it wasn't clear to me.
So myself or April will be able to identify trainings that we feel staff are required to take. However, staff does have access to the entire Udemy training catalog and the ability to take whatever trainings that are available to them on there. But yes, we will have the ability to make some mandatory, but then also allow them to, like I said, have the ability to freely take classes that they feel would benefit them.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was just trying to understand. And then the fee schedule for that, how is that based? Is it per viewing,
Per user for a calendar year.
Okay, perfect.
I
All
think
right.
you mentioned it's unlimited, right?
Yes.
That's
I
fabulous.
second.
Okay.
Yeah, the link that Cynthia sent out in an email, I believe, last week, takes you to their entire training catalog, which is numerous pages, is why you guys didn't receive a paper copy of it. So.
No, I appreciate it. No, I took a quick look, so it's great. So, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay.
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, item 5 is Housing and Small Business Preservation Grant.
All right, so I am asking to remove 5B from the agenda today. That is following former discussions post the creation of the agenda.
Okay.
That is no longer an option, so I'm asking we're going to remove that. And then I'm going to ask Jackie and Heather to come up and kind of give an update as far as where we are with the HRC and moving forward with the Historic Preservation Grant Program.
Sure, or you can have a seat at the table. I mean, why don't you come join us?
We have an
Yeah,
Oh, I guess there's a chair over there.
2 chairs here. We're going to split you up, though, so. You've been under pressure before, so.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Thank you
Jeff.
for having us here today. And we wanted to just kind of come and give you a little bit of an update since this is a unique relationship with the way that the ARP funds have been allocated, in that the city of Erie received the funding, and then the Redevelopment Authority is the administers this grant. So just to step back a little bit, just so you understand what's been going on with historic preservation at the city level, and then we can get into a little bit more of the historic building improvement grant. The Historic Preservation Plan was fully adopted on March 26th of this year. So we have a plan in place now with priorities, goals, and implementation plan, a 5-year implementation plan. So we have a direction moving forward. Heather has applied for, and I should step back, but Heather Olson was hired as our historic preservation planner. So she took over about 2 months ago, right, Heather? And Heather is a landscape architect, which is a great skill set to have in the planning department. She's also a teacher, and she has just jumped right in and applied for 2 state grants. One was a $2,500 CLG Certified Local Government Mini Grant for training for our Historic Review Commission board, and also for Heather. That was received. And also a $10,000 CLG mini grant or scholarship for design guidelines, specifically for housing design guidelines. Now we know that this would not necessarily pay for an entire design guidelines, citywide design guidelines, but it might at least possibly pay for the public engagement side, so that we can move into a larger plan, a larger set of money to do the full plan design guidelines. And then lastly, the RFP was submitted and has been up for 3 weeks for the citywide historic resource survey, which is a comprehensive resource survey of all structures, landmarks, cultural assets, and it is one of the priorities also found in the Historic Preservation Plan It will not only inform our decision-making moving forward, but also it will tell us what we have currently. So it's very, very, very much very important to the city, but also will help us moving forward so that we know how to make informed decisions. So that's kind of generally what's been going on over the last couple of months. And of course, Heather has been, like I said, she's jumped right in. She's the staff lead for the Historic Review Commission, and she has been working not only with the HRC, but also with Redevelopment Authority staff to kind of come up to speed in terms of the historic building and improvement grants from 2023. So that meant going back into the files, working with the Redevelopment Authority to make sure that those that are about to come to term, have completed their projects, where we're at. It has been a long process, but I'm going to let Heather speak to that once I'm finished here, and she can let you know what her tasks are moving forward. That brings us to the remaining funds that are within this grant. The ARP grant that was allocated to the Redevelopment Authority was in the amount of $841,500. That was the total amount awarded to the Redevelopment Authority. Of that pot of money, $563,572.74 were awarded to grant recipients of the program. The remaining funds, as of today, are $277,927.26 are remaining out of this pot of money. So over the last week, actually, the HRC met to determine, but to start discussing how they plan to spend the remaining funds, with the understanding that they have a deadline of December 31st, 2026, and also with a real cognizance around the way that it rolled out in 2023 and how we can improve on that process, how we can move forward, how we can build this program with an intent very intentionally, and making sure that we go back to the historic preservation plan as well. Also they discussed the equity factor in it, that to be able to uphold the historic preservation program, as I mentioned, and then to facilitate it in the way that it should be. So I guess in closing, and then I'll let Heather talk to you a little bit about her role, is that the HRC very much would like to see this money still spent and in the direction that it should, that the intent was there for. And in the next couple of weeks, there's some options that we discussed at our special meeting, and that we hopefully will confirm and be able to come back to the board and let you know of the option that we take. So are there any questions having to do with the historic building and improvement grant that you have today?
I guess we'll just kind of see how things, I know you know our concerns. We've certainly raised those, and I know that you're working on those then. So I just, in terms of focus and, making sure that we're addressing eligible properties and in historic districts and so on. So, but we'll let your group come back with us then.
Okay, yes, that's what we'd like, is we have a few options on the table, and with the historic preservation plan and the survey guiding the HRC, I think that there's some options that we can take and come back and make sure that we're moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. Heather.
Should I step in and just sort of give an overview
Yeah.
of where I'm at?
Sure.
Great. Hi, I'm Heather Olson. Great to meet you all. I've been here just over 2 months. It was 2 months at the end of the close of business on Friday. So I guess I'll read from my notes a bit, just so I don't get sidetracked. And I'm sure you all have important things to do this afternoon anyhow. By the way, is there always someone on the roof during your meetings? Because
That's the first one.
Yeah. Oh, good, it's just not me then.
like acrobatics in the air.
All right, so we're, okay, good.
It's kind of
just not
fun.
me.
Kind of fun.
I've seen things.
Twilight Zone episode.
That's where the citizens watch from its
He's back there now. So.
visitor club seats.
So as Jackie had provided, my role is mainly pertinent to the city for historic preservation, but I do help out in other planning initiatives, and so I stepped into this role from the prior historic preservation where he had left off, where Chris had left off last fall, and I want to explain that my role is multifaceted, from technical to creative. And so, this grant and getting to the point of managing it and being the boots on the ground for it from here forward to the end of closing out, I think the remaining 16 or so that are left, is really to help facilitate all of those parts of the project, the technical and the creative, as well as the communicative and the field site visits. So I'm trying to kind of do all of those things just to be one responsible individual and to kind of be a little bit, or be efficient, right? Be efficient in that manner. So my role as a historic preservation planner is also to provide support, options for, and future recommendations to the HRC, and to act as a liaison between the HRC and the Redevelopment Authority for where the remaining funds of the ARP grant stand. So I explained that I picked up with this project where it was left off from last winter. And Jackie and I have been working with Erin and Tracy and Kendra at the Redevelopment Authority to fully understand who the applicants were that were approved as well as denied. I've looked into project types. I've looked into elements of different project types, monies, timelines, all of that. I'll spare you the advanced Excel spreadsheet that goes through all that, but the color coding, I promise, has a reason. So we are working with the HRC from here forward in our own HRC initiatives to expand historic preservation presence and projects throughout the city in all 17 planning areas. The involvement in this grant project, the ARP grant project between HRC and redevelopment, was to provide my involvement is to provide quality control, project management, boots on the ground, phone and email dialogue, and in-person meetings. I've also spoken with people who were denied projects, had those very difficult conversations on the phone with them, and tried to rekindle and reopen a positive dialogue and relationship with those owners and city residents. And I continue to want to work to do that in the future. I think that's important. I think that's imperative for my role. So in the coming weeks, probably next week or later this week, I'll be starting and picking back up with those May home and business inspections to help Tracy and the Redevelopment Authority close out those projects formally. So they'll be really systematic. All the info will be in an Excel spreadsheet. Tracy and Erin and Kendra were nice enough to kind of transition and hand me all the official forms that are needed to do so. So it's going to happen in a really tight, cohesive way. Like I said, I'll be the main contact for the closing steps of the process. I think there's around 16 or 17 projects left. So that's 16 or 17 homeowners or business owners or landlords. Maybe they weren't, maybe it's not their first primary residence, but maybe they own the home and rent it from this phase. Those are people that I'll get to meet out in the community. And so I'll be sure to provide a nice summary of where we're at with the process and speak on behalf of redevelopment and the Planning Commission while I'm there in a way that it upholds the projects positively. Jackie talked through the historic preservation plan, which if you ever get bored on a weekend, maybe midwinter, there's a bunch of great info. But there's overarching key goals, initiatives, and then implementation efforts. And those are the boots on the ground efforts. And so HRC, when we met last week, now that we have this, we've really gone back to kind of some of those core goals that this outlines, that the ARP grant monies, potentially could morph into rematching and becoming, future phases of the project. So I hope that was concise and made sense. So any questions for either of us on the ARP and the grant?
I was just wondering, are you able to guide the applicant through good decision-making and maximizing the grant, and particularly to draw out the importance of architectural features and so on? Not everybody has those skills, and so are you able to guide the hand a little bit? And
I would say I understand what you're asking. In the future, yes. As I understand it right now, applicants were approved with the information that they submitted at certain set times.
Okay.
So according to, let's say I just pick a certain individual that maybe the HRC approved last May, on May 1st, 2023. If they sign their agreement on July 6th, it's kind of what was signed at that point on July 6th. Okay. And so that would have been something that Aaron or someone in the race office would have signed. But in the future, absolutely. And so a big part of what the HRC monitors and what I'll be monitoring tie into the Secretary of the Interior's design standards and recommendations, which are enormous and thick and fully encompassing those types of questions or the answers to those. So
good. Thank you.
Thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
I wanted to also mention the HRC is currently looking at the zoning ordinance because it was drafted and written before the historic preservation planner was present, and at a time that had to be quickly pushed through. So there's some amendments there that would be a little bit more specific in certain things.
Sure.
And so we're really trying to delve into that right now, looking at the zoning ordinance, looking at some of our forms. And so there's just kind of refreshing everything at this moment. It's really been helpful for, I think, everyone.
And do you get to comment on signage and like size and scale and one of my favorite topics?
Yeah.
So yes,
That's what
so
we're working.
this came up.
We don't need
This came up,
six-packs,
and-
for Coors Light six-packs on every historic building, right?
Exactly. And so there will be a point when we do get the design guidelines in place that with all 17 planning areas of the city, that's their official term, is planning areas, but neighborhoods, it's anticipated that we would have those in place for those. Maybe we'll, depending on the budget for that, maybe there are certain planning areas that are clustered together and overarching recommendations are made for those. Currently, there's the downtown design guidelines that Prospectus did in 2018 or so, I think, or maybe 2022. So we may be utilizing some of those that were already done, so we're not paying a second consultant for work that's already been done in a high quality and sensible manner. And we may be moving to like adopt those. But I do follow what you're saying, and I'm with you.
So, very good. So, excited to hear the update. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I think that brings us down to item 6.
Yes, the East Bayfront, or Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program grant application. So, as part of the East Bayfront Greenway Trail Project, this was a grant that I had applied for last year. However, we hadn't quite finalized the East Bayfront Greenway Trail Plan with Michael Baker yet. So there was just some unknowns, and the state asked that we withdraw the application and then be prepared for an application this year. So this resolution is basically giving the board's authorization that myself and April Decker execute all agreements, documents, and basically submit a grant. The amount is left blank, is my assumption that I will apply for the $250,000 maximum. We do have the budget and such to have the matching funds to go up to that level. So this will be our grant application for the East Bayfront Greenway Trail to assist with the implementation of that, in which we did meet with LSSE last week, and we'll meet with them every Tuesday morning from this point forward throughout the summer as they continue to design and build that initial plan for the Gateway Park as part of the Greenway Trail, so we can move this plan forward. So just asking for the board to provide a resolution allowing for the application of that grant.
Are there any match requirements or?
There is match requirements,
Okay.
depending upon what part of the grant application would be applied for.
Okay.
But we do have the matching funds with the American Rescue Plan funds to match whatever requirement I decide to apply for.
Okay. Is there, obviously it says in the resolution, acquisition, remediation, disposition, and construction in, I guess, how do you envision the funds being deployed for this project?
My plan at this point would be for construction.
Okay.
Last year it was for acquisition. I don't feel, given the timeline of the grant, that is in the best interest in the unknown. They want appraisals of properties for acquisition, disposition.
Okay.
So it's construction would probably be the best use of a grant application.
And that's for the walking paths and the
Yes.
landscape? Okay.
Yeah. And walking paths, alleyway improvements.
Okay.
Anything tied to that original plan.
Okay. And then is there a date that these funds need to be spent down by?
There's a discrepancy in the guidelines. It says 12 months, but one says 18 months. I'm not sure what that depends. That'll come once once awarded, if awarded, based upon the state's contract at that point.
Okay. No other questions from me?
Okay. I'm good. Is there a motion to accept the resolution as presented?
So moved.
Jeremy, do you have any questions, or can you second the resolution?
No, I'll second.
Okay. Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then finally, we have a resolution with respect to the executive director's evaluation compensation. The board met in executive session. We've corresponded via email. I met with Aaron via telephone today. We will move ahead on the resolution as presented. I'd like to keep the conversation open, however, so that Aaron and I can work on some additional goals, which will justify additional compensation as we go along. But for the information that we had, we'll move ahead with what we discussed, and we'll keep the conversation open so that they're compensating our staff properly. Is there a motion to accept the resolution as presented?
So moved.
Jeremy, is our second?
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much. Is there any other business to be considered?
That's all I have.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate everyone's time.